Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about something. I wanted to talk about something a bit more serious. So today we're gonna have another podcast episode, and in this episode, as you guys can see from the title, we're gonna talk about a topic that is controversial, but it's like I feel like I have some things to say about it. So I'm like, no, I have to, talk about this because yeah, no. I don't know, I feel like I have some opinions on this. So, because I'm not really used to doing podcast videos, I feel like this one, because it's like my first official one, the other one was more talking about like my own experiences, but this is my first time talking about like something that isn't to do with me, like my own experience, but like an actual like recent relevant topic. So don't mind me in terms of like this might go weird or whatever, I don't know, but we're just gonna sit down. Basically I just want to sit down and talk. Yeah, basically I want to get into some things. I want to talk about my opinion on some things. So as you guys have read from the title, this topic is going to be about using the N-word. So to give you guys some backstory, so the initial topic is we have this person called Joe Rogan who owns a podcast on Spotify, and he has a very popular podcast. I'm going to be honest, I didn't know anything about him until this whole topic came about, but I don't actually know very much about him. I just know that he has a popular podcast on Spotify, and he recently signed $100 million contract with Spotify to keep going with his podcast, But the thing is, throughout the entirety of his podcast, he's been saying a lot of derogatory things towards black people. He said a lot of racist things, towards black people. So the way I heard about this topic was actually because of this singer called India Ari, and I saw that she said that she's pulling out her music from Spotify because of him and the situation with him, and she raised some very valid points. She said that Spotify was built off of the backs of black artists, which, let's be honest, it was. And they don't even get paid very much. I'm pretty sure everyone knows, it's common knowledge that Spotify does not pay artists that well. We all know that. And the fact of the matter is that Spotify became Spotify because of music, through music and through these black artists and their music, doing amazing, like just basically spreading everywhere and just doing really well. Like, let's be honest, and I feel like it's really, I don't know, it's really interesting that, they don't pay their artists that well, but this man, simply because his podcast is really popular, they signed, like they gave him $100 million contract, $100 million contract. And she included a clip of this man saying the N-word countless times, like just saying it. I think I even saw a clip of him as well saying something like, something along the lines of like, we were in this room with a lot of black people, and it was, some Planet of the Apes shit, and I was shocked. Like, I don't know, I feel like when I actually saw for myself, like the clips, and and I saw like some of the things he'd said in his podcast, I was shocked that there wasn't more uproar about like the things he said, and the fact that he's able to openly say these things on a podcast that then gets published so other people can hear it. I feel like that I was really mind blown by that. But the fact of the matter is that Spotify are aware of the things he said, and I'm sure that people in their camp have seen this clip going around, just literally highlighting how many times this guy has said the N-word, and they responded by saying that they're going to keep his podcast and they're going to keep him on Spotify because they don't want to hinder free speech. And so I guess my question for Spotify is saying the N-word now considered free speech? So using this term we all know was a derogatory term used against black people when, during slavery times. We've taken back ownership of that word, and now you're telling us that no, now we're bringing free speech into it, and we're saying no, we don't want to, you know, censor free speech. So it's free speech to say that, you know, entering a room with black people is the same as, you know, being on Planet of the Apes. Like, that's free speech. I don't know, I feel like that really bothers me, because it's like, sometimes I think what happens in society is when people say things and people are clearly unhappy about it, or there's some uproar about it, we use this kind of magic, you know, fix-all potion or umbrella term, which is free speech. You know, and let's be honest, that is not free speech. That is not free speech. Using this word that you know that you should not be using. Like, you have a whole platform with millions of listeners, and you use the N-word like it's like I don't even know, like it's like your name or something, or like it's just way too, it's I think that's the thing that shocked me, is the comfortability, like that this man is so brazenly just saying that word like again and again and again and again, and making these disgusting jokes about black people, and it's just wrong. And I think I'm honestly very disappointed after this whole situation. I'm really disappointed in Spotify, and I think I need to also stop listening. I think I'm gonna get myself off the app and move back to Apple Music, because it's like I think it's like a thing of, I'm shocked that that's what they stand for. Like, what he's doing is blatantly wrong, but, you know, no, we're gonna just, you know, blanket over everything and brush over it by just saying, yeah, it's free speech, you know, we can't censor that, you know, and I feel like it's very obvious that it's a pretext. Like, that excuse is definitely a pretext for the real reason, which is that they just, obviously he makes them a lot of money and they don't want to let him go. But it's like, I don't know, it really, it's not okay. It's despicable, especially when we consider that Whoopi Goldberg has been facing a lot of backlash for saying that she said that the Holocaust can't be compared to like slavery. She made a comment about the Holocaust, essentially, right? Which was not, it was an ignorant comment, but she apologized, and she you know, she recognized that. But as a result of her words, her consequences are that she's been suspended from her job, and I think I saw that she loses up to like 400,000, I think, a month or something, or 200,000 from being suspended from her job. So while she is actually facing repercussions and consequences, despite the fact that she's recognized her, you know, the ignorance of her comment, we have another man, this white man, Joe Rogan, who all he did was he posted like a short clip saying, you know, people are bringing this up and they're saying that I use this word, but they're using it completely out of context. But he's used it so many times, there's no way you can say that all those times were out of context. It's very evident that he's way too comfortable using the N-word, and that is not okay. That is not free speech. And I think it's very interesting that, you know, I think essentially it really reveals that, you know, I saw this as well, and I think this is a conversation that we should be having more, and that is that when it comes to certain minorities, you know, things are overlooked, or things are not, that there's not as much of like there's not as much of harsh like repercussions. Basically, there aren't that harsh repercussions when it's other minorities, but when it's certain minorities that are being insulted, or that are being like just facing a lot of just prejudice, you know, the response is different. It's a lot more lenient, and I don't know, I think that's not okay. Like, that's something that we need to talk about more. Why is it that, you know, Whoopi Goldberg made one ignorant comment? This man has said probably over 1,000 ignorant things, and one clip reveals that alone. Like, this is just one clip. And another thing I must add is that instead of taking down his podcast altogether, what Spotify proceeded to do was just remove, I think, over 100 of his episodes or something. And it's like, why, if it is free speech as well, why then would you remove a bunch of episodes? What are you trying to hide, Spotify? What are you trying to hide? Tell us. We want to know. If it's free speech, why then remove like that many, or, you know, of his podcast episodes? I just feel like it's very like transparent that, you know, what they're doing is really just about business, and they don't care about the fact that their whole brand, their whole company was built, you know, on artists, and specifically black artists, you know, back. They don't, but you know, now that you have this person who's making you lots of money on Spotify, it's like, yeah, you know what, there's one rule for him, another rule for everyone else, and that's not fair. That's ridiculous. And this leads me on to the next thing I wanted to talk about in this episode, which is to do with, you know, and this ties into it, is that the response, I guess, that the world has to crimes, that, you know, crimes that are done to different minorities and or different races, I guess you could even say, within society. And so I don't know if a lot of you know, but one case that's, you know, that I've been hearing about is this case with Lauren Smith Fields. You know, this, so just to give you guys a bit of backstory, those of you who don't know, so Lauren Smith Fields, she was a 23-year-old. She was my age, which is crazy, but she was a 23-year-old girl, and she met this guy on a dating app, Bumble, I'm pretty sure, and they spent the night together, and then the next day she was unresponsive, and he called the police, or he called the ambulance, and essentially the police did not investigate the man because he seemed like a nice man. Like, literally, you guys can search this and you can see for yourself that that's literally that's what they said. That they did not bother, they didn't even try to investigate him, even though he was the last person that she was seen with alive. They didn't investigate him because he's a nice man. He seemed like a nice man. Now, if the roles had been reversed and it had been a white woman and a black man, and even if he'd seemed like freaking Santa Claus, or, you know, like Jesus himself, do you think that, you know, those police officers would have come to the same conclusion and said, you know what, yeah, he's a nice man, let's write, you know, let's not even, you know, he's not suspicious at all, let's just, no, it can't be him, you know? And I think it's blatant, I don't like racism, or blatant, I don't even know what the word is, but this blatant inconsistency, I guess you could say, like, you know, one rule for some, another rule for others. Like, it can be very frustrating, I think, like, you know, because I feel like at this point you're not even trying to hide it. Like, I know for a fact, if that had been a black man and a white woman, the response would have never been, he's a nice man. Like, it would have never been that. And it's just, and that's not okay. And then this leads me on to, you know, there are other cases, like, you know, so many other cases like Lauren's, where, you know, for example, another case that hasn't had any justice still, you know, Breonna Taylor was still yet to have, you know, the justice that she deserves, you know, served. And these, you know, and then there's even the other case of, you know what, I digress. Let's not even talk about these other cases. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is that, you know, these blatant, you know, I don't know, I guess the word is blatant inconsistencies in the law or in society's response to crimes, to different, you know, racial groups. It's very frustrating, and I think that we should be having more conversations about this, you know, about, you know, if that had been a black man, would they have said that? In a million, even if he seemed like the most saintly human in the world, do you think they would have? No, they would not have said that. And that is not okay, you know? Another example is, I think last summer, I'm sure you guys all know the Gabby Petito case. You know, this white girl went missing, and it was all over the news. Like, it was everywhere. You couldn't get away from it. Like, I felt like my whole timeline was flooded with, oh, she's missing. And I remember I was trying to kind of, because sometimes I feel like I kind of block out the news because it's just too much. So I was even trying to block it out, but no, everywhere I was looking, it was Gabby, you know. And then I found out that from black, you know, a black Instagram page, like an Instagram page dedicated to just black people, and, you know, that there was this black student who had recently gone missing. I think his name was Jalen Smith. He was missing, and, you know, his family was imploring for people who had found out any information. But the thing is, like, like the only time I heard about him was from one Instagram page, you know. But with her, with, you know, her situation and her case, it was everywhere. And then another thing I kept seeing was, you know, indigenous people as well. Like, I kept seeing them commenting or I would see them commenting that, you know, so many, I think I saw that in the spot where Gabby was missing, between, I think, like, basically just under 1,000 young women had been missing, like, within that that area in the last, like, 4 years. But you hear nothing. You heard nothing. You heard nothing. You know, she went missing, the whole world knew, you know. And I saw as well, like, there was this one specific comment that I remember where this girl was saying that, you know, she's lost, like, her sister, her cousin, she's lost so many family members, like, so many women in her life, you know, have gone missing and have been murdered, and or you'll just never hear what happens to them. And, you know, she will never know. And it's like, no one is putting, like, spreading that. No one is, you know, you don't see that across mass media. You don't see that, you know. And I think that's, I don't know, it's a very sad thing within our society, is that, you know, the only times you see these, like, mass campaigns are, or like, you know, you see these stories of, you know, this person's gone missing, or it tends to be white people, and it's rarely ever, you know, minority people. And I think it's very unfortunate, because it's only when we as a community decide that, you know, no, we're not just gonna let this slide, we're gonna make noise about this, you know, like the whole thing with George Floyd, you know, when those mass protests were going on. I really feel like if we didn't, you know, if we didn't, like, you know, if we didn't, you know, uproar and, you know, and get angry and get frustrated and you know, just I don't think that response would have happened. Like, it wouldn't have naturally happened within the media, you know. I feel like it's massively because of us. We were the ones that were like, no, we're not letting this go, we're not gonna. And then that spread, and then, you know, but it shouldn't be like that, you know, once every, you know, millennium you hear about, you know, a person of color going missing, or, you know, being murdered, and you see that plastered everywhere. But on a daily basis, we're always seeing, like, you know, white people, when they go missing, when anything, you know, it's, you know, and I think I remember as well, with Jaylen, like, to, you know, to take it back to that case with the guy Jaylen, that, you know, the boy, I remember I read that his mom was begging for the I think it was basically she was begging for a different department of the police to take over and start helping them to find him, because she knew that they'd have quicker results. However, with the Gabby Petito case, her parents or her family didn't have to implore them to, you know, to get that, you know, to get that other division of the police involved. They were like, yeah, we're getting involved, we're taking over. You know, and as a result, they ended up, that really spread up the process, and they were able to find, you know, find out, basically piece together the clues a lot quicker, you know. And I don't know, it's just, you know, disparities like this, it's like you can't ignore, you know, the racism. You can't ignore the racism, and it's not okay. And I feel like I just want us to talk about these things more and to have more conversations like this, because, you know, these problems are not going to go away. If anything, they're only growing worse, I think. So yeah, and I think another thing I wanted to talk about is how the important role, the super important roles that you know, these black, you know, pages, like, they play. Because if it wasn't for them, like, I think, like, I see ones like Black Marriage, you know, Black, you know, and I see so many of them, and it's like, but if they didn't, you know, spread awareness and highlight these cases to us, I would never know. We would never know. We would never ever know. You know, and I think it's very sad that, like, we have to have these pages dedicated to spreading awareness to black issues or minority issues. Like, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't. You know, because with, you know, the Jaylen case, for example, I realized if I did not, you know, see it on that page, I would have never known, like, about this guy, like, this, you know, this poor, you know, guy that went missing. I would have never known, you know. And there are so many other cases that I've heard of only because I've heard of them through, you know, that like all these different pages. And I guess it's very unfortunate, because it shouldn't be like that. Like, we shouldn't, like, they are doing what the media should be doing. Like, they're doing the job of the media. Like, they're doing the job of, you know, that's not their job, essentially, I think is what I'm trying to say. That's not their job. We shouldn't be having Instagram pages, you know, giving us our news. We should have the news giving us our news. But because the news is so the media is just so corrupt. It's like, now we're going to social media for news, you know. And I think that's been a massive consequence and a massive result, or kind of a massive catalyst for why now, you know, we find a lot of our news on the media. And it's like, it shouldn't, I mean, on social media, but it shouldn't be like that. Like, it shouldn't, you know. And I guess I'm just hoping that, who knows, hopefully it changes. Hopefully, you know, things are different and we don't have to scream at the top of our lungs to be heard. You know, something happens to someone of color and automatically we are heard, we are listened to, you know, and their story and their, you know, is spread. It's not just when we scream and when we, you know, no. But I don't know, we can only hope and pray. Anyway, that is it for this video. I feel like I've ranted enough. But the biggest thing essentially I want you guys to take away from this video is, we need to have more conversations like this about, you know, about these blatant inconsistencies and these blatant displays of racism, you know, racism, prejudice, you know. And I guess by having those conversations,